The Arizona Cardinals lost James Conner today with a very gruesome looking leg injury that actually required him to be carted off of the field. At the time of the injury, there was a lot of speculation as to the severity of the injury. Sources are just coming out saying that James Conner did in fact suffer a season-ending injury to the ankle and it's going to require surgery. They are classifying the injury as severe, although it does not look like they quite know the extent of the damage just yet. So with today's video, we are going to start off by looking at the injury replay. Then we'll talk about the potential anatomical structures that can be involved at the ankle when a person's leg is going to go in that position. And finally, we'll discuss some possible surgical options. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Nick Gallo and I'm a doctor of physical therapy. And with my channel, I take a look at sports injuries and I explain them so that they're a little bit easier to understand. I'll also go over the specific anatomy for that injury as well as talk about the rehab process. If you enjoy this sort of content and you would like to see more of it, please hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel because I will be making more of these in the future regarding sports injuries, rehabilitation, and other physical therapy related content. Also, if you have any comments or questions, please leave those in the comment section below. On the injury replay, we see that as Conner is going to run, he's going to get tackled, and as this is going to happen, that right leg is just going to get twisted up right underneath of him. Here's a model of the foot and ankle, and so the ankle joint is going to be formed by two long bones that are going to come down and form either side of the ankle. The first one is the tibia bone that's going to come down and form that medial malleolus. On the outside here, we have the fibula bone that's going to form that lateral malleolus. And on the inside here, we have the talus bone. There are several motions at the ankle joint. The first one is going to be dorsiflexion, where we're going to be pointing the foot and toes upward like this. The opposite is going to be plantar flexion, where we are pointing the foot and toes down. Then as I flip the model this direction, with the foot coming inwards, it's going into a position known as inversion. And the opposite of that is going to be eversion. As we look at the injury replay again, we see that as Conner plants his foot, he's going to have a twisting force going through that lower leg, and he's going to be brought into the ground. And you can see that as I do that with this model here, as we go into external rotation, it greatly wants to essentially separate the tibia and fibula bones. If the force is great enough and you're getting enough twisting, this puts somebody at great risk for something known as a malleolar fracture. So basically, it's going to be a fracture to either the lateral or the medial malleolus. Sometimes it can be both. And sometimes if the force is great enough, it can result in fractures to either or both bones and an ankle dislocation. So you can see here, as I do that, the talus wants to pop out just like that. An ankle fracture dislocation is an immediate medical emergency because there are neurovascular structures that go down the ankle joint. And if there is any sort of fracturing to the point essentially where they can be disrupted, this can lead to permanent long-term damage. So it is very important that the person get medical care immediately and go directly to the hospital. So I'd say as of right now, based on what we see on the video, the fact that we know that it is a season-ending injury requiring surgery, the fact that there was that rapid response as well as him being immobilized, it seems like the case for an ankle fracture dislocation is very possible. It's also important to say that there are soft tissue structures that are located within the ankle. We have multiple ligaments located on either side of the ankle as well as those high ankle ligaments. As of right now, once again, they need to do some more extensive testing to determine the full severity. But the fact that they already know that he's going to need a surgery makes it seem like they've done the x-ray and those bones are already out of alignment. The most common surgery that a person is going to have anytime there is an ankle fracture or an ankle fracture dislocation is something known as an open reduction internal fixation, or an ORIF for short. Basically what they're going to do is they're going to be inserting a rod and some hardware to stabilize the bone in a more properly aligned position so that it can heal correctly. This surgery will take place because these types of fractures are usually very unstable, and just putting it in a cast is not going to be sufficient enough for it to heal correctly. Also, a lot of times the bones are very out of position and the hardware is needed just to put everything back together. The hardware is going to be either to the tibia and or the fibula bones, depending on where the fractures are located. And after this, the person is typically non-weight bearing for a period of several weeks to allow everything to heal properly. Once the person is finally allowed to weight bear through that lower extremity, we can slowly start to work in range of motion exercises, progress strengthening accordingly, and finally, when they have clearance, get them into more advanced things. But in order to know the appropriate timeline for his return, as well as the appropriate treatment when it comes to rehab, we need to know the full severity of things. We know that the injury replay mechanism is very consistent with an ankle fracture, and more specifically, potentially an ankle fracture dislocation, but we need to know a little bit more information regarding some of the soft tissue and other structures that are located in the ankle, because this can greatly impact the timeline for him to return. So if I happen to hear any updates regarding James Conner, I'll be sure to update everybody in the comment section. Also, if you happen to hear anything, please feel free to update us as well. So unfortunately, James Conner and the Arizona Cardinals got the worst case scenario today in regards to his injury. It's going to sideline him for the remainder of the season, but we hope that he does very well with the surgery recovery as well as the rehab process so that he can make a full recovery. Thank you so much for tuning into my video today. If you enjoyed me talking about this injury, I'm going to go ahead and link some of my videos so that you can see some of the other injuries that I've talked about in the past. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.